Dr. Jodie Richardson, and you're listening to, well, Hello Anxiety, a podcast where we end the struggle with anxiety and build our toolkit of practical skills to thrive. Hello, lovely listeners. Welcome back to another episode. Today it is just you and me. I've been in schools a lot lately and talking to parents and talking to teachers, and it's really come to my attention that navigating goodbyes for little people in families, as well as for some older children, even in primary school, is quite a tricky time for a lot of families in the morning. And I wanted to create an episode that would really support families and kids and parents and teachers so that goodbyes are a little bit easier, because it's so hard to know what to do. How long do I hang around? How do I prepare my child for the goodbye that's coming? How do I greet them when I see them when I return back at the end of the school day? What do I say and how do I manage it? And how do I look after myself as well as a parent who feels the pain and the distress of my child's distress when it comes to parting ways? I think back to when our first child, our son, was at kinder, and I remember those first couple of drop-offs, and he thankfully settled into kinder easily. But I watched other families, and particularly another mum with her little one who clung so hard and was so upset about saying goodbye. And I could see it on the mum's face, and we didn't know whether or not to try to help. The teachers were trying to help. But ultimately, the distress of the little one was just way too much for the mum to bear. And so she scooped her little one up and headed off home, vowing to try again the next day. And instinctively at the time, from the outside looking in, we can see that the scooping up and the taking home of the little one isn't the most helpful idea in the long run, but sometimes for some parents it's all that you can manage. It's all that we can manage, and we do what we can with what we've got at the time. And so absolutely no judgment. I just had so much compassion for this mum and wished I could have done more to help. And ultimately her little one got into the swing of kindy, and eventually those distressing goodbyes began to settle down. And so I really want to help you as a parent, or if you're a teacher, share this with parents if you've got young children that you're working with in particular. I really wanted to create a resource that will support you, because how do we know when to kind of support our kids to move forward when they're distressed? How do we know when is the right time to scoop them up and take them home? And how do we prepare them and prepare ourselves to know how to navigate goodbyes in ways that really support the confidence of the child and ultimately lead to parting ways being easy, where, eventually they just run off and they don't turn back, and we're like, oh, okay, bye. And even though we love it when our kids miss us, of course we do, we really want them to grow their wings and to be independent, fly the nest at every stage of life when it's, of course, age appropriate. As I've already said, goodbyes are hard on parents, mum or dad, and the child, and especially if there's clinginess, the little one doesn't want to let go and is literally clinging onto a leg or won't be put down onto the ground if they're being held. They can plead, please don't go, please don't leave me, and there can be a lot of tears. And of course that is going to affect how we feel, and we are really wired to comfort and protect and keep our kids safe. And so it's natural that this is a really difficult experience for anybody that's been through it. It pulls at our heartstrings, doesn't it? And even sometimes there are little ones who are really reluctant to part ways, but they'll go ahead. We know that everything about their body language and the way that they feel is distressed, but they're not showing a lot of those outward signs because they are just resigned to the fact that they have to go. I really would love for your children to be able to part ways with you no matter what age and stage, and to be able to look ahead and experience and take hold of the opportunities that are there waiting for them, whether or not that's kindergarten or prep or primary school or a new activity or having been invited to a party. So today's episode is really about navigating those goodbyes. One thing I know for sure, and that the science tells us as well, is that lingering when we are parting ways with our child who doesn't want us to go, lingering only drags it out and actually prolongs their anxiety and ours as well. And so that's one of the really important things I want you to know. The following are some strategies that will make a genuine difference for you, for your family, for your child, and it's going to take time. So take your time with these and make a note as you go of the ones that you feel might be really impactful for your family. There'll be others that you're already doing, but I have 10 strategies that I want to share with you that can really impact goodbyes in a positive way and make them more easeful, a whole lot less stressful, and make life easier on everyone. Before I dive into the 10 ideas I wanted to share, a little bit about separation anxiety. It's actually a really normal part of childhood development. So it's especially around starting school and transitions that we can see some of this separation anxiety take place. But we know developmentally it starts usually around 6 or 7 months of age, and it typically peaks in children aged around 14 to 18 months, which means developmental separation anxiety usually has run its course well and truly by the time a child is starting kinder or is going to primary school. But for many of us, we take our children to daycare. I certainly did, and they were much younger than kindergarten age, so we can see it play out in daycare centres as well. It is really important to know that it will typically go away. If it does hang around though, and it is becoming a problem, it's important to go and seek some advice. And I would always start with a general practitioner. Ask the question, share what it is that you've been noticing, take some notes. I always say, if you are having a conversation with a general practitioner about your child and their mental health, it's really worthwhile taking some notes, because if you're like me, you'll go in to talk about something that's really upsetting and you'll have trouble recalling examples or really being able to paint a clear picture for the doctor as to what it is that's worrying you. It can also be an idea to book a double appointment so that you don't feel rushed and that you and the doctor have time to talk about what it is that's going on and come up with a plan together. So the clinginess, it is a natural response to, a situation whereby the child feels it as though it's unfamiliar, it's new. There might be challenges in that environment that are a bit tricky for them to manage. But with the right support, you can absolutely help your child to develop the coping skills that they need and the confidence to separate and ultimately be running off into the playground and not even looking back over their shoulder when they say goodbye. So here we go. So the first thing I want to share with you is that an easier goodbye absolutely begins the day before, and especially around sleep and protecting sleep and ensuring that our kids, no matter what age, are getting enough sleep. Because when we are all well slept, and just ask my husband, he knows this about me too, when we're well slept, we are better able to cope with change and with situations that might otherwise challenge us a whole lot more when we are tired. So having a bedtime routine at night, so there's predictability, there's consistency, and the body and brain of your child learns this is all about heading off into bed and getting a good night's sleep, that the bath, the books, the meal, however it is that you set up your nighttime routine, all lends itself to this predictability and consistency that particularly anxious young people need. And we want to really maximize the chances of not only them having a good quantity of sleep, but having good quality sleep as well. the morning of the goodbye is also equally important to be as consistent and predictable as is possible. Now, we all know life can be unpredictable, and mornings, the best laid plans can be shot out of the water, and depending on other children and work and pets and partners and all sorts of things can throw a spanner in the works of a well-planned morning routine. But I really do encourage you, when you are thinking about the separation and navigating these goodbyes with your child, to get some of those other foundations in place and maintain that consistency as much as possible. And that could even mean getting the clothes out the night before. It could be laying out the uniform, packing the bag, maybe making the lunch, or whatever it is that you'd like to do, so that the night before and the morning of are as predictable and as routine as you can make them. The second idea I want to share with you is about establishing some sort of a goodbye ritual. Now, that could be your own special handshake. It could be a song that you play on the way and that you have a special little lyric from the song that you share with each other before you say goodbye. It can even be a high five or a hug or something that they know to expect, that is a sign that you're about to say goodbye, but it's nurturing and it helps them feel connected and comforted, but is also this signal that this is part of this routine that we're establishing to make those goodbyes a little bit easier. The third idea that I want to share with you today is about having a transitional object. Some children find it incredibly comforting to have a little something in their pocket that mum or dad has given them. Perhaps mum or dad have the same object in their pocket during the day. It could be a photo, it could be a little pebble. It doesn't have to be anything of any particular value or anything specific. It's just something that helps them to feel more connected with you, so that when you're not there, they can reach into their pocket, bring their attention to the connection that you have by touching their little pebble or stone, or their little soft toy or little jelly animal, whatever it is that they like to have, and that brings a sense of comfort for them when you're not together. And it's mindful, I think, to remember that sometimes these objects can get lost, and so we want to make sure that whatever it is that we're giving our children to help them feel connected to us is replaceable. And so if there's just a one of a kind, I wouldn't use that as a transitional object. Funny story, kids get very attached to things, don't they? And we had a lost toy for our son that was a really upsetting experience for him. So when number 2 came along and I bought these little sort of soft bunny rugs for her, I bought 2 and hid one, and so she could have one. And it was very, very precious, and I knew if it got lost, we had the replacement tucked away in the cupboard, or so I thought. However, I opened the cupboard one time, she noticed the extra bunny, and then became very quickly and very attached to both of them. So the best laid plans there didn't pan out. So when kids do lose things that are very precious to them, they also do learn a lot, but that's not what this podcast episode is about. One of the things that we often don't pay enough attention to when it comes to really supporting our child with their own anxiety around separating is to settle our own anxiety. So this is my 4th point that I want to share with you today. They are so perceptive. They pick up on our emotions. And anxiety is particularly contagious, and no doubt, like most of us, when we know that a situation is going to cause anxiety for our child, our brain is anticipating that this threat is coming, this threat is imminent, and our brain and body are responding accordingly and elevating our heart rate, changing the way we speak, probably changing our facial expressions and our posture, the way we're responding. And so if you can find a way to settle your own anxiety, you can help them through co-regulation. And over the years of creating this podcast, there have been so many practical ideas that I've shared and my guests have shared that can make a really powerful difference to settling your nervous system. And when I talk about them when I'm giving a presentation, whether that's in a school or in a corporation or even to senior students, I typically break down these ideas into 3 categories: using the breath, using movement, or using the senses. So I really want you to be sure about what it is that you can do that can help to settle your nervous system, help you to ground and calm yourself when the separation is approaching, so that you appear calm and confident, and your child, as a result of that and the regulation that you can share, they will feel more assured. So find that strategy. And one of my go-to strategies is the physiological sigh. It's those 2 inhalations through the nose, remembering that second extra sip of air that inflates the alveoli in our lungs and really helps us to have optimal gas exchange, and then lengthening that exhale. Okay, ground yourself, because equally as our stress and anxiety are contagious, our calm is too. Okay, number 5. This is one that I'm often asked about, so I really want to clarify. How do we say goodbye, and how long do we kind of hang around? And the short answer is not long. We want to be brief and loving, say a confident goodbye, and then head off and make our way back to our car. Some parents have tried sneaking off when their child is connected with another child and engaged in an activity. I recommend against this, because the trust in where you are and what you're doing is lost when all of a sudden the child goes to look for you and you are no longer there. And it's a loving and well-meaning attempt at settling and easing and making the goodbye a little bit less distressing, but ultimately it can lead to more clinginess in the long run, because the child just doesn't have the understanding of what's going to happen and when. And that's why consistency is really important. So we really want to acknowledge that they're upset. We want our child to understand that we know how they feel, and we really want to be able to convey that. But if we have a lengthy goodbye, it can only make the situation more difficult. So keep it short and sweet. Give them a lovely warm hug. Express how much you love them and that you can't wait to hear about the fun activities that they will be doing during the day when you see them at pickup time. All right, and you could maybe even say, I really want to hear all about the painting you're doing. I know you're doing some painting today. Please tell me all about it. Will you show me your painting when I pick you up? And that gives them that sort of anchor of what to look forward to when the day is coming to an end. Number 6, express and demonstrate trust in the person that is caregiving for your child when you're heading off to say goodbye. And that could be really connecting with them when you see them in front of your child. Show your child that you trust the person that's going to be spending time with them when you say goodbye. And you could also talk about that caregiver when you're at home, and you could say, oh, did you know that Mrs. Smith has a little dog called Barney? Or did you know that Mrs. Smith plays a netball game on a Tuesday night? And I wonder if we'll see her down at the courts when I'm there playing my netball game. Or I wonder if she could teach you something about netball for your game. I mean, I'm just coming up with examples on the spot, but really building and strengthening that connection and finding common ground between your child and the teacher or the caregiver, if you're thinking about daycare drop-offs, can really help to kind of build that trust and confidence and strengthen the connection between your child and the person that you're leaving them with, so they are actually more likely to feel safe and secure in their presence, which over time will help to really reduce their anxiety. Another idea that can be really helpful, and this is idea number 7 today, is to practice short separations. So gradually getting your child used to being apart from you will help reduce their anxiety over the time. And this is a type of exposure. And if the separation anxiety is very, very distressing and they really can't be in another room in your home, let alone say goodbye and part ways for daycare or school, then it's really just about breaking this big task of spending time apart down into small chunks. So the first step could be you going into a different room and them remaining in the room separate to you with somebody else who will love them and support them and play with them and engage them and connect with them. And you might only be gone for a minute or two. You can stretch this out by increasing the time that you are apart from them, or maybe go to a different room in the house where you are a little bit further away. Ultimately, it could be outside to play with the dog or hang out some washing, whether you're inside and the child's outside or vice versa, and just slowly building up the length of time and the distance, not necessarily together, to ease them into this idea that they're okay when you're not around and that you do return. All right, now, if you're at that point, you might appreciate some extra help and really encourage you, if the separation anxiety is really getting in the way of your child's ability to do the day-to-day kind of activities of children their age, then have a chat with your doctor. The short separations and the gradual increase will really help them build their confidence and help them to learn that they, especially if you're equipping them with a grounding strategy of their own and an opportunity to connect with someone else while you're apart. Eventually, we want them to be able to be in one room while you're in another without that support, depending on their age. But it's just about building gradually and helping them to develop a strategy that works for them, whether that's doing some running on the spot or some skipping or some jumping jacks or playing a game with another caregiver, whatever it is that will help them to settle their nervous system and for their brain to learn that it's actually quite safe for them when you're not around is obviously really important as well. The eighth idea I wanted to share with you is about acknowledging how they feel and really validating for them. So it can be really well-meaning and loving, and we've all done this. I've done this too. Of course I have. Because we don't get it right all the time, and sometimes we don't know what to do and what's helpful and what's the best approach. But we can be tempted sometimes to say, you're okay, there's nothing to be worried about, no need to be upset, you're going to have a fantastic day. But in a child's mind, whether they realise it or not, that kind of approach can really make them feel really invalidated and misunderstood, and it can sometimes amplify what you're seeing in terms of distress and behaviours that show you they are not comfortable separating, because they're going to work harder to try to let you know, no, I'm not okay. They don't feel you understand it because you're telling them they're all right. They might work harder to really demonstrate to you that, hey, I'm really distressed and this feels really threatening for me. And you might have observed that as well. So we really want to let them know it's okay to feel anxious and that their feelings are valid. And this applies to any type of emotion. All feelings are important and all feelings should be welcome. And what we really want to be able to do is really notice and say, you know, I know it's really hard for you to say goodbye. I get that it's really challenging for you, or I can see that you're really upset about saying goodbye. I understand that this doesn't feel good for you. So in validating that, you're letting them know you understand how they feel, and you're using a tone and showing compassion and empathy for how they're feeling. And you could say, hey, I know it's really hard to say goodbye, but we've practiced this. We know it's important. We know that you're safe at school, and we do know that you'll have a great time. And I will be back here to pick you up like I am every day at 3:00 or whatever the time is that you will be there to collect them. Validation is so powerful, and it's really important our children learn that all feelings are okay to be felt, and that a trusted caregiver will validate how they feel and sit with them in their discomfort without the need to dive in and fix it, which we so desperately want to do. We want to fix it for them. And sometimes we need to. Other times we just need to say, you know what, this is really awful. I'm so sorry you're going through such a hard time at the moment. I'd feel like you if I were going through this as well. That validation is so powerful. Number 9 is about focusing on the positive. So highlighting the experiences and the good things about the time that your child will spend away from you. And that could be the fun activities that you know that they'll be doing during the day. It could be about the friends that they get to hang out with. And so it's nice to, rather than focusing on the challenge of the separation, where you might sort of feel like, the day before you might want to talk about the goodbye and sort of say, hey, when we say goodbye tomorrow, I don't want you to get upset, because it's so distressing for us as parents. It's really, we want it to settle down because it's upsetting and distressing. And so it can be tempting to talk about it a lot and have a focus on it, whereas it can be really helpful to focus on the positive. And you could say, oh, I know you've got somebody coming along tomorrow with a guide dog puppy to kinder tomorrow, or I know tomorrow that you've got PE and I know how much you love that, or your friend Jamie's back from their holiday, Jamie will be back at school tomorrow, or draw their attention to the things that are good, and that can take their mind away from the things that feel threatening, like saying goodbye. And when I say threatening, what I mean is that the brain is detecting the separation as a threat. And the brain's number one job is to help us all survive. And so whilst we know it's not dangerous for that separation to occur, the brain of a child who is experiencing separation anxiety is detecting that as a threat, and the body is responding accordingly. And so that's what I mean when I talk about it being a threatening situation. I could be using air quotes when I say threatening to help that be clearer. Number 10 is about encouraging friendships and helping a child feel more connected to the people that are in the space that they are spending time in when they're not with you, can really help with this transition and really help with these separations. And so is it about inviting one of the little kinder or preppy or primary school friends to the local park, or to meet at the school on the play equipment a little bit earlier in the school day or in the morning before drop-off? Is it about spending more time with a friend or two outside of the school hours or the drop-off time on the weekend or afterwards, bringing somebody else home with you to spend some time and help your kid to really strengthen those friendships? We know with our workplaces and with the movements that we have through our own life as adults, that the people who are in those spaces can really make such a difference for how we feel in our nervous system, how comfortable we are there, and how easily we settle into what we need to do. So there was a beautiful paper I read many years ago, Scratch a Happy Adult and Find a Socially Connected Childhood. And really this is all about the importance of our kids' connections with others, and the more we can do to really help foster those connections, the better for our children. So you might be wondering whether or not you need extra support. And if you are, I love that you're thinking along these lines. And I love to say to parents that if you are wondering if extra support could be helpful, go and ask your GP, and they'll be able to tell you whether or not you're in a position to manage it with what you've got in place. They'll be able to share some other ideas with you, or if necessary, connect you and your child to somebody or another professional who can really support you if this is becoming a big problem. Because separation anxiety is tough on everyone, and there are circumstances whereby it can really start to interfere with family functioning, with brothers and sisters, with parents getting to work on time. And you might get to work on time, but you're so frazzled because it's been so difficult. You can't focus, you can't relax, you can't do what you need because you're too activated and mobilized in your nervous system, but also really worried about what's happening with your child in your absence. What I can tell you is that typically when things aren't serious, when it's not a serious problem, what happens is when we part ways, we say a loving, confident, calm goodbye, that when we're gone, the child settles down and they settle in with the caregiver that we've left them with, whether that's their teacher or a daycare employee that's supporting them. The lingering around, the hanging around prolongs that little person, your little person's brain's understanding that, help is available, help is still available, I could still get out of this, And the longer you stay around, the longer their brain will work and fight to get you to take them home. And so a quick, loving, caring, consistent goodbye is a really important part to take away from this discussion. So if the separation anxiety is really persistent and it's significantly interfering, as I said, it could be really helpful to consult with your GP or a professional. And that could be your GP, it could be a paediatrician, a psychologist, or the school counsellor. Remember, it's really common. You're not alone if you are going through this, and it does take time. It's going to take some patience. I need you to look after you and really know how to ground yourself. And I want you to feel supported too. So turn to the people that can support you as the family is working through this. So ultimately, you're in a better position to support your child to be able to handle these drop-offs with more ease and with more confidence. Thank you so much for your time with me today. I really do hope that these 10 different suggestions that I've shared with you today make a tangible difference for you and your child to make goodbyes a little easier, a lot easier over time. Be patient, be kind to yourself, and lean on others for support for you, because these times of change and building resilience in our children can be a bit tricky. And sometimes it might even be that another parent might do a drop-off for you here and there, or you might be the parent helping out someone else, because sometimes when kids are being dropped off by a different caregiver, somebody they know and trust, a friend's parent, the situation might be a little bit easier for them because they're not going to cling to that person the way they would to you. And that might just give you a break that you need every now and again to sort of maintain your resilience to keep moving forward to help your child overcome this challenge. Remember, resilience is not built in a vacuum. We want our kids to learn that they can experience hardships and challenges, and that with love and care and compassion and support and guidance and the strategies that I shared with you today, they'll be able to learn to cope, and eventually difficult goodbyes will be a thing of the past. So thanks for your time. Thank you so much for being with me here today for the podcast. I always feel so privileged to be able to spend some time with you, and I can't wait for next week's guest. So I'll be back with you again next Wednesday. All right, I'll see you then. Bye. Thank you so much for joining me for this week's episode. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and leave a review. To keep the conversation going, I'd love you to join me over on Instagram. You'll find me at Dr. Jodie Richardson. Also, if you'd like a copy of my free 5-day mini email course, Calm Your Anxious Brain, then jump over to my website, drjodirichardson.com, and you can sign up down the bottom. I've really enjoyed having your company. Thanks so much. See you next time.